Hey, welcome to the weekly wrap up. Now, we are about half an hour later than what I said I was going to be here because my internet is really bad in this Airbnb, and the host has been trying to fix it for me on the phone to their internet provider. So hopefully it's stable enough that we can get this wrap up done and get you some charts, and let me know if you can see this, if it's actually happening. And yeah, hopefully it is. Hopefully it is all going to plan. So I'm going to quickly jump in because it's been an epic week for alts. BTC dominance has been dropping. It fell off a cliff, and let's get straight into that while this internet is stable and is happening. So let me get some glasses on and let's get this chart up. All right, so first up, we've got BTC, of course, big daddy of the everything in crypto. So to me, this looks like an ABC. We look to be in this B wave, not complete. B wave holds as long as 114,500 holds that this support. So this could come back down for another wave here, one wave down and then a wave up. So that's the potential of BTC. It's literally going to sort of trend in this really sort of sideways momentum at the moment until we get, we've got a big week this week. We've got Jerome Powell speaking, and in New York, I believe. And then next week we've got the rates announcement, so special interest rates. So over this next week, I think we're just going to sort of trend this way until we have that announcement. So that's a pivotal point in this market as to whether this is up or down. Personally, I think they can't keep holding the rates at the, same level at the moment. So I think there needs to be a cut. I think there needs to be some stimulus, and I think that's going to happen this month. So with that being said, alts are all getting to a kind of a toppy position, which could go either way. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we're at this point. We've hit this pivot, this 122,251 pivot perfectly. And we're just sort of sitting there at the moment under that strong resistance that comes all the way back from 2020 and beyond. So 2017 high. So this is our 2020, and then we've got our 2017 high. And here we are right now. We're on this resistance. So that's essentially this very, very important point. And I've put this on Twitter and in Getting Started in Crypto. So if you're listening, also don't forget the FEMX free signals. Have a look at the banner at the bottom here, and the FEMX free signals. Go to gettingstartedincrypto.com and fill out the form. Sign up to FEMX using the referral link there, and you'll get free scalp signals, and they've been killing it at the moment. So we're exactly here. So we are here. So there's many paths that we can take. So we can go completely down, where we're potentially going to retest this low on this support, and that's around 93. We can sit and sort of, move sideways for maybe a month or two until we get the next FOMC meeting. So if we don't get a rate rise, a rate drop here, we could go sideways for a month in this yellow pattern. So that's kind of, not so bad, because that will allow alts to sort of do their thing. Or if we do get the cut, we're going straight up. So potentially we're in a third wave. So straight up means, that is confirming that third wave, and it's quite an explosive wave for Elliott wave if you've been watching for a long time. Now, BTC dominance fell off a cliff, but we're like so low down on this RSI. We're at 11. It's still got a little bit more that it can go. So that does mean that alts still have a bit of a run, but we may look like this sort of thing. And just got a coffee. So that's potentially what we're looking like. We could see a bounce here with BTC dominance climbing. That would mean sort of we're sitting in that yellow region, or we're sort of climbing above. So that's, once we see BTC dominance sort of on the climb again, we're going to be consolidating and moving higher. So hang on, let me see if I can see you guys. So I hope people can see this. I have no idea. There's no comments here. So we are later, but yeah, so that's our potential for this region. So with the BTC dominance, so potentially a bounce coming up, BTC is going to bounce or stay in that yellow region and then continue heading up. So USDT dominance also has just had a small bounce, which means we might have a small pullback. I think this is still in a downtrend, and I think this is looking potentially like we're in an ABC here. So this is an A, a B, and a C. We're going to come up and test that resistance, and then that's when BTC dominance will fall off a cliff. So essentially then, not BTC dominance, USDT dominance will fall off a cliff and will go back down. So we could see a period of sideways. That's potentially what we're seeing in this region here. So, and that's kind of over the next week, maybe to a month, depending on that interest rate announcement, which is in a week's time. The total is sitting right underneath my pivot at 3.93 trillion. It's broken through 2. You can see that it always touches these pivots, and then it comes either like retests higher or it continues down. So this pivot, small like pullback, and then a continuation up. This is the second test. So it can have up to 4 tests before it gets sort of a more violent sort of pullback. This is only second test, so it could continue sort of sideways like BTC. So, that might sort of look like a pullback sort of in this region, just sort of hanging sideways and looking like that. Now, total 2. So this is everything minus ETH, minus BTC and ETH. I think, hang on. Yeah. Excluding BTC, sorry. So total 2, total 3 is BTC and ETH. So this one looks like it's still got room to move. I think we're still going to about 1.7 on the total 2. DXY has had a bounce, but is having a pullback. Looks like it might be forming a inverse head and shoulders, and we don't want that to happen. So this would look something like this, pulling back, and then a continuation up to retest that 102 mark. And then that would be if we don't get a rate cut. This is a potential, and that would see movement up and down with BTC. So, and before I get into alts, there's a few to get through today. So ETH is likely going a little bit higher to 3.94. Going to have a bit of a pause here. This is a fourth wave. It's not going to be a huge correction. I don't think. There's still room to move on all the indicators, and I still think we are going to touch 4K. Whether we break through 4K this round or not is yet to be seen. But if we break the 3.949 pivot, the next region is around 422. So 4,222. And that's kind of where we're heading for ETH. The ETH BTC pair also having a bit of a pullback, as dominance is probably getting a bounce on BTC. They do need to cool down a lot on these indicators as well. So that's kind of what we're seeing. So hopefully, you guys can see this. And I'm not just talking to myself. Let me have a look. Oh yeah, I've got a comment. Yay! So, I can check. What have we got? INJ. So I'm just about to jump into alts, which is good. So yeah, happy we can see it, and my internet is working. And apologies again that I am an hour late to this, as that was like quite stressful trying to get the Airbnb host to do that. But let's get through these. All right, I'm going to get to that INJ one first. I haven't looked at this one. I haven't got a chart up, so bear with me as we get to that. Okay, so we had 5 waves in this region, and now INJ is at a double top. So this looks like a really, really, really lovely cup. We're going to get a pullback and then continuation. So we don't always get like a deep pullback in this region here. It can be quite shallow, but that's the potential on what is across the board on alts. So let me just get some of this stuff off, and I will have a look at potential pullback regions on INJ. So 236 is about 13. The MAs 100 and 200 here line up between the 382 and the 0.5. So that's normally the most likely. They come back, they test, and they continue up. So that would possibly look like coming back to that 382 and then a continuation up. That's kind of in line with, this week being sort of quieter and less bullish because of we're going into that week before the FOMC meeting. So potentially that's it. There could be the other option where we have a breakout, retest, and then a continuation. I think that's less likely due to the indicators being quite high. So I would say that we're coming back down and we are, seeing a retest down lower. So let's go back. All right, ENA. This is one that I always get asked for, and I've seen this be asked for on Twitter. So basically we're going into a 4th wave here on this pattern. So we've got 1, 2, not quite finished that 3rd wave, 3, and then 4. So could go potentially higher, but we're in an internal 4th wave, which will basically just see a pullback again this week and continuation. So it's looking like that is going to happen across the board for alts. Which has been a little bit slower than a lot of other coins at the moment. So this is our wave 1, our wave 2. It's still underneath the bearish pivot. So potentially this could be still like quite bearish. Hang on, losing my voice. So this is a 12-hour chart, and indicators are showing that we're potentially got a small bounce coming. But on the daily, if we zoom in here, we can see we're getting a small bounce because we're just turning up on the stock. We've got bearish divergence coming. So that means we're sort of getting closer to the top. It doesn't mean that we're at the top. And our MACD is still looking good. We are getting a little bit more sell pressure in this region across the board because people are getting a lot more cautious because we've had some nice profits. And when that happens, everyone starts to take some profits. And that's what you want to do. Nobody got poor by taking profits. you do get poor by not taking profits, and then your coin like tanking and going to zero, or you're in a margin trade and it just going the opposite way. So make sure you always take some profits. Now this is CHZ. It has come up and hit the 0.65, 0.68. 618, which is the golden zone. So I would say we're coming back down to retest the breakout region, and then we will head back up. So again, another alt that is looking like it's got a pullback. So when we're seeing multiple alts look like they're pulling back, it just means the market as a whole is probably pulling back. BTC is about to move, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So if we've got this A, B, C, this is potentially going into this B, which we will more than likely double top before coming back down, testing this low. So that's why the BTC dominance is on the rise, and others are declining. So another one that I've been watching is, where did it go? Hang on, meme coin. So this is starting to really curl up. It has been hugging the MAs, and this is one that I think will be a nice mover in the not too distant future. So maybe just a minor pullback here, but it is looking really good. So put some fibs on if it wants to hold. We're still in between fib levels, so we have got like plenty of room to move on this one. So this is one that I do think will gain momentum quite quickly. And yeah, so after a pullback, so don't get too excited and go all in and, you know, leverage this and it then pulls back. But yeah, it's got about 130% after a pullback. So ladder down to around that 100 MA, which is on the 4 hour, and I think it should bounce from there. It's also around the top of the wave 1. So as well, CRV, massive explosive move. We covered this last week and we kind of looked at all the pivots. Now it's gone, this looks like a fourth wave. We've got a fourth of a third. So let's have a look at how these waves look. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hang on, let me get this 2 down here. So when we are looking at a wave correction, we do not do the whole structure because we don't have enough waves as yet. So we look at just this one wave structure, and we can see that we've got quite a shallow correction on this to the 382. Depending on like fourth waves are synonymous with like a million patterns. So depending on what BTC does in this moment, we could have a wave down which goes to the 0.5 or the 618, still within pattern, and then a continuation up. So we've already hit the 382 a couple of times. If we come back down and test it a couple more times, more than likely we're going back down to retest. So 0.5 is the normal sort of range for a fourth wave correction, and that is where it would sit on the 0.5 there, which is 8487. So that's predominantly where it's sort of heading. Okay. Telcoin, now this is under this third pivot. This is the most important one, and no break here, then it's still bearish. Really high on the indicators, hasn't crossed down on the MACD yet, and still fairly good volume coming in. It is sort of starting to wane, but we do have this correction here. Ideally, we want to hold above on this breakout zone. So this is our channel, and ideally holding above that and this pivot here, which is also at the 200 MA. So that's at lots of zeros, 6099, holding that region and then a continuation up. I've got targets as high as 21,455. So in this, that's not a cycle high, that's a wave high. So for all of those Intel and going, oh, that's not high enough, it's a wave high, guys, not a cycle high. XRP has had an amazing run. So we're at 3.62. Now we have broken the all-time high on XRP now. So let's zoom out. I don't think we can get that on these charts anymore. So back in 2017, no, it doesn't go back that far. So back in 2017, we hit 3.3 on XRP, and beautiful moves for XRP, and potentially this is the 5.89. So that's a magic number that somebody said that we were going to get way back in 2017 as a projection for those waves going up at that point. Instead, we went down, but the monthly chart looking really nice. Definitely looking like third wave potential. Have a look at the strength in that candle for the monthly. We can see that in this region, it was just really explosive. So we've still got more room to go. Potentially this third wave could be an extended wave and go all the way up to this, and just the fifth wave will keep going. So, but yeah, 5.89 looking really, really possible for XRP. Okay. This is a fairly new chart. So this is one that I put in getting started in crypto, and a few of the guys in there jumped in. It's got some really nice alt curl on it. So this is just sort of curling up, coming back down to touch, and then looking quite good. So the pivot, the next pivot on this one is 522. So that's our next major resistance point on this chart. So this is the hourly. So when we go up to the daily, it's going to look very sort of like nothing, because there's not a lot of data on this, but we can see that we're sort of turning up. But what oops, hang on, let me get out of that. So what I want to show is that this region here is quite a hard resistance. We can see that we've come back down a couple of times, we've broken through, and we've retested and rejected. So this region here is the 522 mark, is the next like hard resistance on this chart. It's probably going to sit there and sort of maybe go a little bit sideways in this region before heading up. So once that breaks, this chart is going to be like explosive. It is looking really nice. So let's just jump back to that alt curl that I was showing. And this is like, alt curls is something that if you followed me for a while, you will see, I'm going to put a rocket on that. You will see that I talk about that curl where the wave curls up. So that just means that there's more investor money coming into and it's slowly sort of curling up as we get that accumulation. So we can see this accumulation, and then an explosive sort of wave. So yeah, it's looking quite nice. So as long as this pivot here holds, which is 3.9, so as long as that holds, this is really good and really bullish longer term. And Pengu, which is another of the favorites of a couple of my members in at Getting Started in Crypto. This is our wave 1. This is our wave 2. We are in a third wave. I don't think it's finished yet, although we might have a small pullback in this region. And then this one, from wave memory and from like all these measurements here, will likely hit sort of around the 236, which will be a new high for this one. So you can see again, we've got quite a nice sort of curve happening before we get that explosive move up. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening across the board at the moment. So cycle high for, no, not until we've got this first wave, Hader. So let me go back and I'll go back to TEL. Hang on 2 secs. And I'll show you how a cycle high prediction. So I'm going to take this up to a monthly. We might be able to get that. So we might almost have our wave 1. So let's assume that that was our wave 1 and we're potentially moving into a third wave at the moment. So cycle high could be about 7.9 if we get an extended cycle. We're looking at 128. But yeah, so I would say more than likely that maybe break the high. If it doesn't break the high, the 1.236, it's just going to hang below. So with that, from this point in the market, 1,000% at that point. And then if we get to the 618, so that's to the 618. Yeah, so we've got about 1,000% at this point. At the 1.236, about 750%. So yeah, still some really nice moves to come in the market, and obviously depending on how sort of retail investors sort of see the market moving, that could even go even further. But that's a low level guesstimate. Once we get to those regions, we do need to break that pivot on Telcoin for it to even get there. So when we're looking at the monthly, our major resistance on TEL is sitting at 1.5. So, and that's kind of just below where we got on this point here. So yeah, that's going to be sort of the 1.2 to 1.5 is going to be a really tough region for TEL to break through. Once it breaks through, it's really clean air and it's going to keep moving really strongly. So, but at the moment, it's kind of just consolidating with all these waves. Now, consolidation waves are good, because this means that when these waves come down, it doesn't just tank all the way. So when we see TEL and we've got not a lot, it just went sort of straight up and then it has to come straight down. There's nothing for it to hold. So we want these periods of sideways, and that's why we see that on BTC as well. We want periods of sideways where we have levels that when we get supports, it doesn't just go and keep going down. So with altcoins, we don't always have that support. With BTC and other coins, we get that support built in, and that's what those periods of sideways are. So you can see that we've got all different levels. That, like, at this point, this was our wave high. We've come back down. We've retested that. We've got wave high here. We've come back down and retested that. And that's essentially, we've got a wave high here, we've come back down and retested that. Now, if we didn't have this consolidation regions in these areas on BTC, it would just come straight back down like we saw on Telcoin there. And that's how, like, supports are built in. So, regardless of whether it's like excruciatingly boring, these building in these supports is a necessary thing for the health and longevity of any coin. So if it doesn't have those and it just goes straight up, straight down, it's not going to have a long-term future. And Telcoin at the moment is building those supports in. So it does look like it's getting more strength. Like from the last cycle, it just went straight up, and that's never ideal. So yeah, it's got lots of support building in. So we want to see that support continuing as this coin rises and not just a straight up, straight down. So yeah, hope that helps. Cool. Okay, so INJ, so and I think that's about it. I don't see any more questions, which is good. And yeah, hopefully my Wi-Fi survived from the Airbnb, and apologies that I was late trying to get that all to work. So thank you guys for joining me. I will more than likely see you next week, and I'll be in a different location again. So not that you can see where I am, but I'll put some pictures up when I leave here and head to the next location. So yeah, have a great week. And as always, you'll find me in Getting Started in Crypto. Now, if you are on our mailing list for Getting Started in Crypto, you would have got a discount voucher over the weekend, our bull market benefits. So if you're watching this live as well and you've got to this point and you want to join Getting Started in Crypto, when you get to the checkout on either the paid signals or the TTMBot, the $99 packages, you can get a $30 discount and get those signals for $69 by putting in the code bull market benefits. So please do that, and don't forget to sign up to our FMX free signals. They are killing it at the moment, and I will see you all next week. So thanks for joining me. Have a great week.